Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. So, today I wanted to talk about a subject that came up in the networking call this week about how to show up in AI searches, how to get ChatGPT to recommend you. And so I thought I would pop in and have a chat about that this morning. I obviously that's something that I could help people with. So it's something that is definitely we need to consider it. It's search just isn't just about Google anymore. There's definitely the world of search is changing. And tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Perplexity are becoming more and more popular. And they are actually changing how people search when they're looking for recommendations for products or services. And so we need to be aware of what's happening. We need to be aware of why we need to not just dive straight in and only focus on that. And so I'm going to talk about that today, and I hope it's helpful. So, over 90% of searches, just to put everything in perspective, over 90% of searches are still happening on Google. So if you hear that Google's dead and that people aren't using Google anymore, it's simply not true. People are still Googling things. And about 4.9 billion people still use Google. So there's still plenty of people Googling things. And even though the AI tools are growing fast, Google isn't going away. Google is a big part of that AI revolution as well. But we're still saying I need to go and Google it. We're not at the point yet where we're saying I need to go and chat GPT it. Not quite yet. I mean, we might get there at some point. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll have an idea of how to get recommended by AI and why we can't ignore the classic SEO as well. So the AI bots are not just things that we can use to generate content, they're also referral engines as well. So they can recommend your business even to people who never directly see your website. And if you can show up in and get recommended in AI searches, it can really help to build trust for your business, can help to send more traffic through to your website, and ultimately help you make more sales. And Google's market share has dipped slightly, but AI search is rising rapidly. So we are in a time of change, and it's really important to be aware of how you can try and maximize the chance of getting shown in those AI searches, really. So even with all the buzz around AI search, Google is still where most people turn when they need answers that they can trust. So thinking about big decisions like health related topics, money related topics, or if you're trying to find something, booking something major, a service or a product, something that you're spending a chunk of money on, people still want to double check. So they will check in on Google before they commit to actually buying that thing. So even if they're asking ChatGPT or Perplexity or Google Gemini to help recommend things, they will generally at this point not 100% trust what AI is telling us. It does hallucinate sometimes. So it's something that they will use Google still to double check that before they commit to buying something. So a little stat for you. As of March 2025, Google still has over 90% of global search traffic. So about, as I say, 4.9 billion people. And Google gets 14 billion plus searches per day, which is just a phenomenal amount of people searching Google every day. And ChatGPT sees about 37.5 million prompts per day. And for those prompts, just a fraction of those are the ones that are actually search intent. As I say, people are using AI for lots of other things, and they're not just using it for search. So that's why we still need to think about Google. We still need to think about what we can do to show up on Google first and foremost. So users will normally fact check. So what they hear on AI, they will want to double check that and make sure that it's actually true. So the big thing is that you want to show up in both places. So people are still trusting Google. Most of the time with AI, we are a little bit hesitant to entirely trust what it says, really. And also, Google has its own AI overviews as well. So if you're wanting to show up in those AI overviews within Google, those are built up from those classic SEO signals. So what helps you to show up on Google also helps you to show up in those AI-powered search results as well. So the fundamentals of SEO, things just to mention before we dive in a little bit further, is that Google index web pages rather than whole websites. So Google's little robots and then AI bots as well go through and crawl through web pages and then decide which one of those is the best one to show up in search results. With AI search, it might be that they're showing several of those or they're consolidating information and displaying that. But what it's important to do is give each page of your website a purpose, because we're thinking about optimizing each page of our website so that it does show up in searches, whether that is Google searches or AI searches. So optimized sites are ones that have good technical SEO. So the sites load fast. They haven't got any major sort of stumbling blocks. They're mobile responsive. They've got quality content. They've got links coming back into those, and things like structured data. So making sure that the information in your website is easily readable for Google and for Bing, which is a lot of the AI searches are done based on what is showing up on Bing. So it's really important to get those things in place first and make sure that your website is set up with those fundamentals, really. So the big shift between Google searches is we would get the Google search results page with like the 10 links on it, which gives you direct answers and recommendations for specific web pages. Whereas AI search tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity work a little bit different from a regular sort of search in Google. So sometimes they'll run a live web search, and often they will, as I say, use Bing instead of Google to pull out the most relevant information. Other times they'll pull answers from what they've already read and learned across the billions of web pages up until about 2023, 2024. They will be sort of drawing from that information of what they already know in their database, basically. AI also picks up on things like brand mentions. So if you're mentioned anywhere in reviews or forums or news sites, and the general sentiment about you and your business online, so what people are saying about your business in different places, really does matter in terms of showing up in AI searches. That means if you want to be recommended, you need to think beyond Google and make sure that your content is visible and mentionable across the wider web. So make sure that your content is really share worthy and that people are actually talking about you across the whole of the internet if you can. So it's really important if you want to be recommended, if you want ChatGPT or other AI engines to recommend you, you need to show up both in the live web results on Google and Bing and other search engines, and the content that the AI is trained on as well. So the formula for getting recommended by ChatGPT, there's kind of three parts to it, really. So first, you need to show up in web search. So make sure that your site is visible and indexed, especially in Bing and obviously Google anyway, for what we've just talked about with Google still being the #1 search engine. But if you can make sure that you're also being indexed in Bing, then that is actually ChatGPT's main web source. So that's really important. So what you can do to help with that is I talk a lot about Google Search Console, but if you can also set up Bing Webmasters Tools, which is Bing's equivalent of Google Search Console, and then that will just allow you to then spot and fix any issues that there are with you actually being indexed on Bing. A lot of the time, if you are being indexed on Google, then you probably will be being indexed on Bing as well, but there are some nuances on actually how to optimize for Bing. So make sure that your SEO basics are in place as well. So as I say, quality content, making sure that you are producing content that is written for humans. So you can still use AI to help you to create that content, but it shouldn't be just written by AI and not checked, not given your human perspective, not made to sound like a human. Google and Bing both want content that sounds like it's written by humans for humans, basically. So use AI to help you as a starting point, but making sure that you are adding your own human nuances to that as well. Making sure that your site has a clear structure. Internal links, so making sure that your content is all linked together so people can then crawl through your website, spend more time there, binge on your content. One article leads to another article, leads to another page, leads to your sales page. And that's a really good way to help both Google and Bing and any other bot that is crawling through your website, but also people understand what's the next thing for them to do from that piece of content that they're reading. And then using structured data as well, schema markup, which is a little bit more technical, but having that information in the back end of your website set up allows the bots to read your website in a structured and standardized way. So you can help to give more information out about your business's location, things like reviews, frequently asked questions, all of those kind of things can be built into your schema, and it gives more information about what information is on your website than if it was just what's sort of visible on the front end, really. So the second part of for getting recommended by ChatGPT is to create content that people want to refer to. So make sure that you're actually sharing things like original data, statistics, real world examples. AI loves to reference sort of unique insights. So if there's something where you can put your unique spin on it, or if you've done any polls or any opinion surveys, those kind of things, and your real world experience, add that into your content. That's how you can show that this wasn't just written by a bot. It was actually created by somebody who knows what they're doing, who is an expert in the topic that they're talking about, and who should be trusted. Use clear, direct answers and use headings to make your content easy for bots to quote, and also for other websites to also reference your content as well. So if you can make sure it's really well structured with headings and with clear answers, then that's the sort of things that can then be taken out as snippets that the bots will also quote them. And then add your credibility. So if you're writing an article and you're referencing somebody else's article, cite those sources there. So include that in your articles, include testimonials from your customers, and highlight your expertise. So really what you're showing is that you are that expert and the reasons why you're the expert on the subject that you're talking about. And then the third part of this is widening your digital footprint. So make sure that you are being mentioned across the web. So that could be news articles, industry blogs, podcasts, forums, reviews, making sure that your business is being talked about in your industry across the internet. And digital PR and guest features are really powerful. So getting mentions outside of your own website is really important. So if you can do anything around digital PR where you can get those links back to your website and get those mentions of your website in these places, make a big difference. Positive sentiment counts here as well. So what people are saying about you should be positive. That's why AI is going to recommend you. If you've got lots of negative reviews, if people aren't sort of shouting about you and why you're so great, then why would AI recommend you, really? So trying to get that positive overall impression of your website through all of your digital PR and what you're doing across the internet, then that makes a massive difference, really. So it's not just about ranking number one on Google anymore. It's about being part of that sort of bigger conversation online. And the more places that where your business is mentioned in a positive and authoritative way, the more likely that AI tools will trust you and recommend you, really. So let's talk about some of the myths and the pitfalls. I've just got a couple of myths and pitfalls. So myth number one is if I'm number one in Google, ChatGPT will always recommend me. And this is definitely not true. So the reality is that being number one in Google doesn't guarantee that AI tools will recommend you. They're pulling their information from lots of sources, not just from the top of Google's search results. Myth number two is that SEO is dead and we should just focus on AI. And this is one that I've heard lots of times recently. I heard it on another call that I was on yesterday as well from an SEO person. And I think it's all very well saying that, but actually a lot of people haven't put those basics in place for SEO anyway. So classic SEO is the backbone of all of this, and getting recommended on AI searches depends on you being in those search results, being those trustworthy websites that are actually going to already be recommended by Google in the normal search results as well. So AI recommendations often do start from those classic SEO signals. So whether someone finds you through Google or through AI, it's kind of those same principles matter, really, of you being that authority, good content, and actually something that is worthy of linking to, really. So some action steps that you can take are to go into Bing Webmasters tool and just check that your site is being indexed in Bing properly. So this is where, as I say, ChatGPT often pulls its information from. So going there and fix any errors. If you have any errors showing there, then fix those. Review your content. So add into your content things like your direct answers. If you've talked about questions there, add your own answers, your unique real stats, personal stories, and your unique perspective, most importantly. So adding that into your website's content is really important. Get mentioned in more places online. So think about things like guest articles, getting features in industry publications, local news, podcasts, relevant online communities, even on threads on places like Reddit and Quora can be really helpful as well. and get clear on what you want to be known for. So when someone asks about your area of expertise, you are the obvious choice for AI to recommend. So make sure your brand's one thing is clear across your content and everywhere that you're mentioned as well. And don't forget to test it. So give it a try. Just try asking ChatGPT or Perplexity or another AI tool to recommend someone in your field and see if you come up. And if not, you can use that as a clue for what to improve next on your website. So, in summary, the world of search is changing fast, and AI search isn't the future, it's already here. And AI tools like ChatGPT are here to stay. So, classic SEO forms the foundation, but we do need to broaden our approach to this. The brands that will thrive are the ones that combine solid SEO foundations with a broader digital presence. So, being visible, credible, and recommended absolutely everywhere. So, be it everywhere people and bots look. Combine SEO, digital PR, and expert written content, and stay flexible and keep up to date and monitor your mentions in both Google and AI tools. So don't wait until your traffic from Google starts to drop before you start thinking about showing up in AI searches. Get ahead now. Future proof your business. Make sure those important foundations are in place first. And if you have any questions about this, or if you want any help with your AI visibility, or want to share what ChatGPT says about your business, then either leave a comment below, reach out, text the show, or let me know. And I'd love to hear from you. So I'd love to know, what is your biggest challenge with showing up in AI or Google? So as I say, you can text the show or send me an email and let me know. And try searching for your business or your offer in ChatGPT and what does it say about you. So I hope you have a great weekend and I will see you soon. Bye.